pretty amazing. It's a mind-boggling story. Again, it's in the Amazon. Basically, It's in Ecuador, but and so in Into the Spear, it's like plane coming down. Same thing you're talking about. Plane coming down. They think actually later on when he's talking to them, they refer to it as the would-be. So it was yellow, and I guess they thought it was like a giant would-be with people inside because they could see the people from the door that was open. They were lowering the bucket down, and it was crazy.
It's pretty wild. It's crazy to think that even in 2020 that there are tribes.
There are still. And I think the thought was that there weren't anymore.
Right.
But I think recently we've learned...
Well, they keep going into... further into the journey.
Well, don't even get me started on Brazil and that whole issue with their president. And
well.
Anyway,
We're not going
I know we're not going political. I know, South American politics. But, well, I mean, basically they're just burning the jungle to make room for Chinese factories. I mean, honestly, however you want to look at it, but they're selling real estate to Chinese companies.
Right.
And they are... I don't know if it's factories, but anyway, Chinese companies, and the land was useless to them as rainforest, so conveniently it caught fire. And the logging companies out there literally will still go out and find tribes that don't have any kind of representation in government, and they'll just kidnap them and use them as slaves. In 2020.
Yeah. It's
mind-boggling.
It's insane. But, so, thank God for people like Benny DeMurch.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
I highly do recommend reading that book as well. The beginning is it tells a story that when him and his wife first got married and they're flying from Canada down to Minnesota or something, and he hadn't had his pilot's license real long at this point, and something happens mid-air and he has to bring it down onto an interstate highway.
Oh, no.
And... literally, I don't know, the landing gear is gone, or he hits a telephone wire or something, and knocks off the landing gear. He lands on the fuselage, and dragging across the plane blows up.
Oh my word!
All his passport, everything's in the plane. The cops show up. I mean, it's this whole story.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and just you knew right then that God had a plan for his life because
he survived.
Obviously, yeah, and just was able to just get out of that so quickly.
And Brother DeMurchant passed away, what, a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Not too long ago.
No, it wasn't that long ago. There's actually a great video on YouTube of him flying Brother Mooney, Paul Mooney.
Oh, really?
Down, and his wife down to Brazil.
Yeah, I think you told me about that, and I don't think I've ever got to see it.
And if you stick with the video long enough, they actually land in the jungle somewhere, and they're hiking a trail. But it's kind of a funny video. But
it looks like he passed away in 2017.
2017,
a couple of years ago.
But recommend that book for sure. Just to get insight on the mission field, and we have all these missionaries that show up to church, and we'll preach, and they'll maybe play a slide or a few videos or something, but you don't realize the impact they're making. And we kind of get the highlights too, because he talked a lot about their first apartments in, I can't remember the town they were in Brazil, but they were in not a very well-to-do place and were robbed.
There's a lot of really sketchy places. I mean, no offense to anybody who lives in or is from Brazil, but there are nice places too, but there are some pretty scary places, I've heard.
There's a story in there where he's talking about he woke up one night and he sees this long stick floating in the air near him, and it was someone on the street trying to get a purse.
Are you kidding me? Wow, that's crazy.
In a second floor apartment.
That's crazy.
The window is open.
Oh my word! They're fishing for valuables.
Yeah. So,
That's crazy.
and they would come home after a blowout Holy Ghost service, and then everything in the apartment would be gone.
Wow.
And then I mean what is it? Is it the Sheaves for Christ? They would have to supply a bunch of other stuff,
right?
A bunch of new stuff.
I think a lot of times we like things like obviously the flying, the stories of people flying. Well, like he did on the Amazon. We were just talking off the air too. It'd be great to have Brother Johnson on, who's been with it.
Talking about.
Yeah, did we? I don't know. Can't remember if we were recording then or not. But yeah. So Brother Johnson would hopefully we can have him on the podcast to talk about that and share some stories because he knew him and his dad knew him and. I'm sure he's got some great stories, but you can almost romanticize that part of it. Yeah. Even though it's maybe scary and crazy, but you can almost romanticize it. But then you forget about the mundane day to day. This just the being in a place where you don't know people, being lonely in a country with millions of people.
Like they get dropped off. You become a missionary, and it's like you go to a place that has no church, nothing. And you're starting from scratch. Right. And you hope to just meet somebody that's willing to have a Bible study. Yeah. And it's hard. I would say harder than, and it's hard not just for somebody in the jungle. I'd say harder than hacking your way through the rainforest with a machete is probably people like Brother Richardson from Taiwan. I talked to him when he was at our church a few years ago, actually several years ago now, and he was talking about the struggle in Taiwan because it's so, it's basically like China 2. I don't know. I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate me saying that. But it's like China 2.0. It's very secular. They're not under. I guess they're independent, but they're they kind of the same vibe there. It's not exactly communist, but they have that anti-religious thing is definitely soaked into the culture there. So it's pretty much like a lot of Europe is now. It's pretty much secular. It's really hard to make any headway. Yeah. And then, obviously you have to have money to operate. And when it's so slow building a church, you don't have tithe payers to support the church, and you have to come back and do deputation. And when you do deputation, you're gone a couple of years or whatever. Go back, and there's basically no church left. There's a couple people left, maybe one. I think he said one time when he went back, his mother-in-law was the only person left in the church. And I can't imagine just how devastating that would have to be. Yeah. And then go back and do it all over again and start from scratch again. And Nate, and he's the one I'd like to have on the podcast, actually. Sometime his brother, Nate Turner from Estonia. I talked to him. We were planning on taking a trip over there to visit. I would love to visit that country and see what he's doing there. But it's very extremely secular. Mm-hmm. Very few people are religious in that area, and it's been a struggle. Just uphill all the way, and that's in a country where it's, other than being cold, probably it's pretty comfortable. Modern conveniences, and it's a modern, first world country, but devastating to put in all that work and just not see results like any kind of encouragement. Really, it's just has to be. It's. I think we're in kind of a similar situation in our even local church as well. I mean, I know like Westport, for instance. We try so hard to reach a community, but a community that just doesn't want to hear it, and doesn't want to be a part of it. And like, what do? We're trying program after program, and if this doesn't work, we're trying something else, and then it's just it's frustrating and it's discouraging.
Yeah,
for sure,
it is. And then I think it was Brother Aaron Arrowwood who was talking about this, and he said it's like you put in all the work and you don't see any results, but then all of a sudden something just snaps, something clicks.
Right.
And maybe it was totally unrelated to what you were doing. But the fact that you're over here doing what you're supposed to be doing, God, I guess God doesn't let it go. He doesn't let you plant and water and do the work without some kind of increase. And I think sometimes you might not live to see it, or it might not happen when you think or how you think it should happen. But I think God does reward that work eventually.
Yeah, I wholeheartedly believe that for sure. And I think it's almost like a trial period that we're just going through, that, it's a test, and we just have to walk through it and persevere. Yeah.
And it proves the concept that God gives the increase.
Yeah.
Because you can't say, I did this and then this happened.
Right.
It
has nothing to do with us.
Right.
And, we're just willing vessels to do God's work, basically.
Absolutely.
But we're still on the topic of missions. You're actually getting ready to...
Oh, I'm going on a mission trip. I forgot about that.
That's this month, right?
It is this month. I'm not ready for that either. I have to get my lesson plans planned ahead so that my substitute can have a sub. Yeah, I do. And I got to get that. And she knows what she's doing. But I got to have some kind of plan for her.
I would have loved to have gone, but it just wasn't going to work out. So I had to pass this one.
It's been tight. I mean, just trying to pay for it and trying to get the, like I said, we're in kind of this period of upheaval and it's been kind of crazy, but just trying to get the scheduling to work and everything. But it's working. I mean, it has to. I got my ticket now, so I'm going either way. But
but you're going to Puerto Rico.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
I've been practicing my Spanish. I'm not going to try it on the air, but I've definitely improved.
Right.
But
can you hold a conversation with the Spanish church members yet?
Yeah, I mean, basic stuff. Like
your brother-in-law.
My brother-in-law is Guatemalan, so he's been helping me a little bit too. I've had some questions for him on grammar issues. I just, little things that are first grade for someone in a Spanish-speaking country that I've been using Duolingo, and it's great, but you don't get all those little. You kind of learn through doing, rather than actually learning the rules. So, which works.
It's not really a textbook kind of learning. It's just,
I think it works better than a textbook.
To me, the best, because all the Spanish I know is just working with them for so long.
Right.
And I've probably forgotten most of it now, but I could actually talk to them.
Right.
And I didn't take Spanish in high school. I actually took French, which I haven't retained much of that either. So,
well, I don't. French was always difficult for me. Just pronunciation I dabbled in it a little bit.
Yeah.
Duolingo is bad for somebody like me that has kind of ADD because there's 100 languages you can learn. Gee, do I want to continue practicing Spanish or do I want to learn Navajo or Klingon? Well, yes.
Klingon.
All the above.
That seems very useful.
Practical.
Yeah.
I can be a chaplain in the Space Force.
That's true.
I know.
I
mean, I'm just preparing for the future.
That's right.
It is 2020 after all.
Colonize the moon.
Yeah. Eventually I'm going to need that.
Yeah.
Well,
for some reason they all speak Klingon on the moon.
I mean, who knows, right? You just got to be prepared.
Yeah.
But no, Duolingo's been great. I think, honestly, they added this feature, which if you don't want to learn a language, you won't care. But if you do, Duolingo added this feature, at least for Spanish, which is called stories. And there's like a conversation between two people, and you kind of fill in blanks and do different things with it.
Okay.
It's pretty cool. It's helped a lot. Anyway, I've been much more, the last few months, I've been much more consistent with practice because I knew that a mission trip coming up.
So Spanish is probably the most practical language that you can learn outside of English.
Oh, I'm sure. In our area. Yeah.
So it'd be helpful in more ways than one.
Oh, definitely.
Not just on your mission trip, but
Right.
just reaching the community.